Hey guys, this is your Chapter 13 test review. I've made it really detailed, so you're basically going to be doing a pre-test with me step by step of exactly what you're going to see on your Chapter 13 test when you take it in the Big Ideas portal. The first thing I need to go over with you is just some of our guidelines for testing online. You're really going to be kind of on an honor code, if you will, as far as not having any notes in front of you. Notes from other lessons, notes from this video especially, and just make sure that that you don't use that. Now, as far as formulas go, it's really not going to apply too much to this chapter. You did have your formula for slope, which was the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That won't necessarily be, it might show up on your test as a true-false, but because the questions are randomized, it also may not. So just make sure you do know that slope formula and your point slope formula as well. All right, so you do need to use scratch paper. A lot of these questions will require you to do a little bit of work on your own. I understand, though, that some of these questions, your work will actually be on the question, like a graph. All right, so if you get to a question where you actually did not have to show work, that's okay, but not submitting any work at all would be a problem, okay? So, and I think you'll understand as we go through the different questions where you should be showing work and where the work will actually be on the question. If you're not on Remind, I did it again, wrong code. If you're not on Remind, the code is TCA Math 8, or Math 7, I mean. So just make sure you get plugged in. I think almost all of you are, so that that's not really an issue for you. All right, so you need to be doing this test by yourself. No help from parents, tutors, classmates. Make sure that you're working on your own. This program is designed to identify points where students might be trying to share answers. So I just want you to know that from my end, some of those indicators come up every once in a while, so you just want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position to where some of those red flags might be showing up. Okay, so I'm just asking you, as long as you're working by yourself and you're doing these problems to the best of your ability, that will not be an issue at all. Skipping questions, you know that I've taught you that that's a test strategy. And it's still a strategy that you can use online. Just write down the number that you skipped, like number 2, on your scratch paper. So that will remind you to go back and click on number 2. So you can click through the problems on the bottom of the screen, and you can go back and forth between the problems. Just don't submit the assignment until you're completely done with all of the questions. All right, so what types of questions are you going to see on your test? All right, you're going to have 2 different types of graphing problems. And you learned 3 different ways to actually graph a linear equation. So really what it comes down to on the test is what's the easiest and the fastest way. All right, so I can go ahead and just throw this one out using a table, the one that you did in the very first section. That's usually not going to be the fastest way. One thing you do want to see is the equation in slope-intercept form? Well, this one is y equals, you've got your m, x plus b. So when it's already in slope-intercept, the easiest thing to do would be to graph it using your slope and your y-intercept. So your very first point will go on your y-intercept on the 1, and then you will use your slope. But what happens if the slope is a whole number? I thought I needed rise over run, right? So if you remember, we can put it over 1, so now we have our rise over run. So now from the y-intercept, I can rise 2 and run 1. And there I have my graph. So using slope and y-intercept will be huge, because I know that we did run into a problem on one of the homework assignments. we were using that standard set of numbers, and then the graph that Big Ideas gave you on your homework problem, it went off the graph. So that's where you're not going to run into that problem if you just use slope and y-intercept. So that'll be helpful. Now we get over here to this problem. Now this problem is not even close to being in slope-intercept form. So that might not be the most ideal strategy to use.